What? Try that one more time. Good morning, Minneapolis. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Good Morning Minneapolis from Onside Public Media, and I'm your host, Toussaint Morrison. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And to keep the show running, you can become a member in the description below. We appreciate it, and very soon, we're going to get out of my kitchen and we're going to be in an actual studio. So thank you so much for tuning in. Today, for obvious news, water's still wet, the earth is still round, Bob Kroll is retiring, and the Minneapolis Police Department is still racist. All right, let's get into the headlines. So, Parler was a social media site that was a safe haven for estranged family members and white supremacists to talk about their feelings and commiserate. It was a place where a lot of white supremacists could have tough conversations about what kind of wood they were going to use to create the gallows to hang Mike Pence. Well, today is a sad day for them because Parler is no more. CNBC writes, U.S. District Judge Barbara Rothstein sided with Amazon in an order on Thursday saying AWS was well within its rights to deny service to Parler for failing to remove content that violated the company's terms of service. The source of the former Parlerverse rage, well, it's because the Diet Coke button is gone. Yes, Biden and Kamala Harris entered the White House this past week as your president and vice president of the United States of America. Biden has already signed off on several executive actions involving immigration, climate change, and COVID. The question is, how many more days of kids in cages do we let go by before we say Biden runs concentration camps too? Well, from the big house to the playground, Minneapolis President City Council member Lisa Bender has exited her house in Duluth to yell about Minneapolis. Lisa Bender, yes, dishonored and disgraced from the city she presides over as the president of City Council, fled to Duluth after several actions and protests came to her $500,000 doorstep just to ask her a few questions. Now, like the ghost of Christmas past and your car keys that you swore you lost, she's materialized out of nowhere with this cryptic message. Lisa writes, if despite having the authority to make a decision about barricades at the intersection of 38th and Chicago, the mayor refuses to make one, the City Council could begin the process of making a decision using our legislative process. What the f***? What the mayor currently proposes, however, a letter of blanket support for clearing 38th in Chicago addressed to community members and signed by council members, is an end run, both around his own authority and the council's legislative process. I will not sign such a letter. If you're confused, so are we, and most likely Lisa as well. So what Lisa Bender is exactly saying is, hey, we had the power to do this thing, but we didn't do it. But now the mayor has the power and he didn't do it, so he's consulting community members to do this thing that he hasn't done yet. And I'm not going to sign anything to cooperate with his power to do the thing that I haven't thought of yet. So, yeah, that's what Lisa's saying. And if there's anybody out there that can possibly translate what Lisa said, if we've gotten it wrong, which we most likely did, please put it in the comments below. We have no clue what Lisa Bender is trying to say. So let's just take one more shot at it. So what Lisa's saying is that the City Council has the power to clear 38th in Chicago, but they haven't. Then she's also saying that the mayor has the power to clear 38th in Chicago, but he hasn't. Either way, the time has passed, and like most families that can't afford to live in Lisa's neighborhood, she's left. Man. Can you imagine calling out your own incompetence like this and saying that you could have done something all along, but then blaming somebody else? All right, Lisa, we see you. Wait, what? What is she referring to when she speaks about 38th in Chicago? Well, if you've been living under a rock, 38th in Chicago is the site of the lynching tree where the Minneapolis Police Department murdered a black man named George Floyd on May 25th of 2020. Since the murder, community members from the square and outside of the square have been holding space as a continued form of protest since that day. The city has put down cement barriers on the north, south, east, and west corridors of the intersection and have left them there. Today, it's been over 8 months since the protest began at 38th in Chicago. Personally, for me, as somebody who frequents in and out of the square, it is a beautiful, cathartic place of healing, of protest, and of consoling other community members and building community at the square. What will the city do is the big question, and who will address it and how will they address it going forward? You can look in the description below. There is a link to the 24 demands from some of the members at George Floyd Square. 24 demands that are to be met until the city can open up the square. It involves the trial, it involves justice, and it involves black liberation. You can read that down there in the description to get more educated on what's going on at 38th in Chicago. You can also join 38th in Chicago any day at 7 p.m. or 8 a.m. for a community meeting. City Council better make a decision quick because the elections are coming up in November fast and you about to lose your job. The house lights are coming up and there's some new contenders coming down the rows. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Chicago and the north side of Minneapolis. Let's look at some new candidates and one incumbent in the 2021 Minneapolis City Council race. Robin Wansley for Ward 2. She's up against Ken Gordon, the incumbent, and another white guy who says he's for diversity. Robin Wansley joined the board of directors for the Restorative Justice Community Action Network, became involved in various advocacy efforts in Minneapolis, more specifically after Jamar Clark's life was taken by the Minneapolis Police Department. If elected, Robin will become the city's first black Democratic Socialist councilwoman. Where's she from? Chicago. Latricia Vita for Ward 4. 2017, ran for Minneapolis Park Board. She won that. Worked with elected officials and Northside community members to secure $5 million in funding for North Commons, and an additional $3 million for the 26th Avenue North Trail connection. Helped with the creation of the Walt Dijic Innovation Fund, which fosters thoughtful, innovative recreation programs in Minneapolis parks. Where's she from? You guessed it, the Chi. Kathy Spann for Ward 5. Hailing from the north side of Minneapolis, Kathy's worked at the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center, where she referred people to resources to help them pay their rent, find housing, and secure childcare. Kathy supports public safety solutions that allow for mental health, non-police response, and social service components. She managed and directed programs for agencies that are cornerstones of the Northside community. Next up, Crystal Porter for Ward 5. Hailing from the north side of Minneapolis as well, Crystal has taught and coached at North High, Henry High, and Edison High School. She's led several successful Northside programs like Cycle Sisters, Clean City Youth, Northside Housing Fair, Power, North, and Live on the Drive. Say that 10 times fast. She founded and leads the fast-growing nonprofit Minnesota Renewable Now that is installing solar panels onto homes and businesses on the north side. Crystal Porter, backed by the power of the sun. Next up, Carmen Means for Ward 9. Community organizer, community leader, executive director of Can Do. Don't know what that is? That's the Central Area Neighborhood Development Organization. Carmen Means is also the senior pastor of the Movement Church. Where's she from? Oh, you know, a little town called Chicago. Next up, Andrea Jenkins for Ward 8. The incumbent city council member for Ward 8 made history in 2017 as the first African-American openly trans woman to be elected to office in the United States. In addition to representing Ward 8 and serving as the vice president of the Minneapolis City Council, she is a writer, performance artist, poet, and transgender activist. So far uncontested, but there's still time, with many candidates and contenders coming to the fray. Next, on Infinity Ward. Go to onsidepublicmedia.com. All the information's there. Become a member while you're at it. Well, in news not associated with black excellence at all, Mayor Jacob Frey is running for re-election. I wish that was a joke, but it's not. But hey, if you're black and you're watching this right now, Mayor, think about it. Hey, there's no way you can do worse than this.
Oh, you missed again.
That'll about do it for us here at Good Morning Minneapolis and Onsite Public Media. You can become a member below and help us run this show and other shows. There's another show called No Cap Recap that just popped up on Onsite Public Media, hosted by Sirius Marie and Brandon Lee. Yes, we're getting more black people involved in public media because, well, PBS isn't. So here we are. Well, that'll do it. Good morning, Minneapolis. And for Lisa Bender, good morning, Duluth. All right, y'all. We'll see you in the next one. Our work is never done. Bye-bye.